Siemanko ludzie, jestem Krystian, to jest gra, na którą czekaliście na Facebooku, czyli The Stanley Parable. Tak, trochę sobie ją przyciszę jeszcze, piątek. Główny poziom głośności sobie tutaj zmniejszmy. Ok. Wstecz i ok. Tutaj widzicie moje FPS-y, tak, tutaj, tak. Nie wiem, ale je widać tutaj. Tak, no to co, lecimy. Ja się zamykam, bo za chwilę będzie historyjka. I jak będzie mi troszkę lagować na ładowaniu, to was przepraszam. Ale tak, poczekajmy chwilę, jak się załaduje. Tak, nie wiem co gada, nie mam pojęcia. Ale powiem tak, będę się wczuwał w postać, tak jak mi znajomy polecił, mam się wczuć w postać Stanleya. No, ładzie? Ładujesz się go, czy się nie ładujesz? Oto jest pytanie. I tak, napisy są włączone, żeby nie było. O, skoczyło troszkę. Okej, leci już. No, ładujesz się? Ładujesz się czy nie? No halo. Widzowie czekają. O, no dobrze, no. No. Okej, to ja już się zamykam i oglądajcie.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-winning, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Okej, więc tak, ja się postaram, żeby na odcinku robić przynajmniej jedno zakończenie i w tym odcinku pójdziemy sobie tak, jak nam narrator każe, więc idziemy.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers. When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Tak, nie wiem dlaczego nic nie mówię, ale okej, teraz zacznę coś mówić. Więc tak, myślę, że zrozumieliście, o co chodzi w fabule.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
I tak, ja będę przestawał mówić, jak coś narrator będzie mówić, żebyście się mogli skupić na jego głosie. I tak, co tu mamy? Schowek na szczotki, okej. Wejdźmy sobie do niego.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Dobra, jak narrator nam każe wrócić, to wracamy. I tak, jak ktoś widział tą grę, to niech mi mówi, w którą stronę mam iść, na przykład ten wybór lub poprzedni z drzwiami. Więc mówcie mi, w którą stronę mam iść, żeby inne zakończenie było. No.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Okej, czyli mamy iść na górę do gabinetu szefa, okej. Co tu mamy? Toaletę. Zamkniętą. Te drzwi możemy zamknąć? Nie możemy. Sama się zamkną. A tu co mamy? No. Coś tam jest, bo widać przez drzwi, ale nie wiem jak to otworzyć. Ale dobra, chyba tutaj mamy iść, a zobaczmy co tu jest ciekawego. U sekretarki. A, dajcie przejść. O, utknąłem. Dobra, idziemy.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him, and so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Okej, idziemy, tak narrator każe. Stanley zawsze wykonywał polecenia, czyli teraz też wykonuje. No, i co, to mam kliknąć? Okej. Lol. Dobra, lecimy. Dobra, już się ładuje. Nam. Szybciej, ładuj się. Okay.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Okay, idziemy.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Tu co jest? Ucieczka. To już macie trzeci wybór, żeby mi powiedzieć, gdzie mam iść.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Okej, idziemy dalej. Co tu mamy? Tu nic, tu nic, tu nic. I tutaj mamy kamery. O, może nasze biuro będzie widać. Zobaczmy. Szukajmy 427. 427, 427, 427. Jest, widzę. Tak, to zmieni nasze biuro. Tak. Widzę nasze biuro. O, nie mogę skoczyć. A co to jest? Co to za karteczka? Okej, dobra, nie wiem. Napiszcie mi w komentarzu, jak wiecie. A chcę zobaczyć sobie na 0,1 albo na tym pustym. Mnie to ciekawi. Aha, nic ciekawego, okej. Dobra, to bierzemy windę.
This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe. It couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly? No. He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never.
Never.
It was unthinkable. Wasn't it? Was it even possible? Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world?
Okay,
but here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working. All of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he would dismantle the controls once and for all.
Z tego co widzę, to nie mam zbytnio tutaj nic do roboty. Tego guzika nie mogę wcisnąć. Okej, dobra, idziemy do tego. O! Robimy zbiórkę. Klikajcie w linki na monitor dla mnie taki zajebisty. Klikajcie w
And when at last he found the source of the rune's power, he knew it was his duty, his obligation, to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
I dobra, tak. Tutaj mamy opcję włącz i wyłącz. Dajmy wyłącz, co ja bym okazał. Co się dzieje? Tak powiem. Oprócz tego, że to chwilowego moja myszka. Myszka. No, gdzie jestem? O lol. Ale ja się trochę cykam, no.
Blackness and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won.
Wygrałem!
He had defeated the machine. Unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments
Ptaszek
away.
leciał.
And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his
Ile
co-workers
ptaszków, bez
How had he
kojarzeń.
been freed from the machine's grasp?
Ojoj, jak
What
to
other mysteries
fajnie.
did this strange building hold?
Wygrałem.
But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him. For it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing
No, tutaj
worth
też mogę
knowing.
chodzić już.
Stanley
Jak
stepped
to
through the
fajnie.
open door.
A co to jest? To jest zwykła tekstura. O.
Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the
dobrze.
new path before him. This was exactly the
Dobra,
way,
narrator się.
right now,
Więc tak,
the
wyczytajcie
things
napisy,
were
a ja
meant
tutaj
to
będę też
happen.
przy okazji gadać.
And
Więc tak, z
Stanley
tego co widzę,
was happy.
to wygrałem grę. Więc to by było na tyle z tej serii. Dzięki wam za oglądanie. Klikajcie w refy, który nie ma. A tak naprawdę to będzie na tyle w tym odcinku. Dzięki wam za oglądanie. Widzimy się już w następnym. I cześć. Tylko niech nam się załaduje. I napiszcie w komentarzu, jak wam się podoba seria i jaką drogą mam iść.